What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we've got our Week 7 fantasy football running back starts and sits for every single matchup, so make sure to tune in. If you enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear it in the comment section. Do you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have? We will do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, let's get right into it. Today's video is brought to you guys by Birddogs. And look, I know we're all searching for that perfect pair of shorts or pants that offers the best style, the best comfort, the best bang for your buck. Well, guess what? That search is over because Birddogs offers all of that and so much more. If you're looking for shorts, they have a ton of options with active wear, casual wear, or even beach wear. On top of that, their pants have a selection of khakis, joggers, and sweatpants. So what are you waiting for? Regardless of the occasion of the season, get yourself the most stylish, the most comfortable pair of pants with a built-in liner from birddogs.com. And if you use promo code ADP today, you'll get a free rope hat with your purchase. Again, that's birddogs.com, code ADP, and you'll get a free rope hat with your purchase. Make sure to check out birddogs.com, link in the description. We kick off week 7 with the Saints at the Cardinals on Thursday night. From the Saints side of things, this is relatively simple. You're going to start Alvin Kamara. Since he's returned from his injury, he's been very efficient. Now, of course, a lot of that has to do, in my opinion, with the quarterback play. Namely, it's Andy Dalton and not Jameis Winston. And then also a lot of injuries to the other pass catchers on this team. So Kamara has been getting a lot of targets. That might bring into question, is this production going to be sustained long term? And that's a valid question. But at least right now, for week 7 in particular, because of the short turnaround, I anticipate Andy Dalton to be the quarterback again, and a lot of those pass catchers, wide receivers, to potentially sit out again. So Kamara should return RB1 value again in week 7. For the Cardinals, they're dealing with some injuries at the running back position. James Conner and Darrell Williams both didn't play this last week. Benjamin was the next guy up. Now, we told you to start him. Unfortunately, he didn't really produce to that level that we were hoping. The Cardinals surprisingly were down versus the Seahawks kind of from the get-go, and they had to abandon the run. But Benjamin, to me, is still worth a running back 2, running back 3 type of flex play. Now, obviously, ideally, James Conner returns, something like that. He has higher upside, but it being a short turnaround, same logic here as with what we said in those injured Saints. Wouldn't be shocked if Conner and Darrell Williams don't play either. In that case, you could do worse than Benjamin. There's some bye weeks. There's other injuries at their running back position, so I would still start him. Then Packers at the Commanders. Yes, I know the Packers have been struggling, and they looked bad versus the New York Jets in that loss. They could only do so much on the ground considering they were down. But this is a game where this Commanders team, it leaves a lot to be desired, especially defensively. I have faith in the Packers having a bit of a bounce back performance, even if they're not the Packers of old. I would still start Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Jones has been and will be the preferred option. I have him as a high-end running back 2. Dillon, more so in standard formats. He's in that running back 2, running back 3 range for me. And then for Washington, I'll go with Brian Robinson. He looked good in his first game where he started versus the Bears. Now, he was kind of saved with that late touchdown, but he got the majority of the opportunities. This Packers team has been very underwhelming. If there's any running back here that I'm going to take a chance on from Washington's roster, it's going to be Robinson. The thing with Washington is, they've been kind of wishy-washy with the running backs they're going to go with. 1 week it's Brian Robinson, then Rivera says after the game we need to get Gibson more involved. I personally think Robinson is going to get the bulk of the carries. We'll see. This could be a good test for that, but I would have him in that low-end running back 2 to running back 3 range regardless. Then Browns at the Ravens. You're going to start Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Yes, they had a down game, probably for the first time this year in week 6, but I think they will bounce back here. Nick Chubb is still an RB1. Kareem Hunt is still a solid flex play in PPR formats. Running back 2, running back 3. For the Ravens, I'll take a chance on Kenyon Drake. This Browns defense hasn't been anything scary. We told you last week to sit J.K. Dobbins. We're saying that again. Other than when he sees touchdown success, he's not seeing a lot of volume, not a lot of big plays, doesn't offer much as a pass catcher. So I don't see any of that changing. Kenyon Drake looked much better. Now, the volume isn't exactly what you want to see, but if there's a guy that I'm going to take a chance on here in what I think is a favorable matchup, it would rather be Drake. To me, he's somebody that's going to be, a waiver wire addition, kind of that running back 2, running back 3 range. Then Bucs at the Panthers. This one's really simple. You start both Fournette and Christian McCaffrey. Fournette, very nice matchup versus the Carolina Panthers. They don't scare me at all. I think the Bucs are going to have a bounce back win here. And then Christian McCaffrey, solid PPR option. He's in the running back 1 category, even without Baker Mayfield. Even with him, as of late, he's been doing a little bit better. And honestly, I think without Baker, his pass catching upside is higher, which is what you want to see. That's why you drafted McCaffrey at the 101 spot. He should be a top 10 running back on the week. Moving on, Falcons at the Bengals. I'm really only interested in Joe Mixon here. He's the guy that you have the most confidence in. He's going to get the usage. The question is, will the touchdowns come? That's kind of been the main worry. The Falcons defense doesn't scare me too much, so hopefully this will be a decent matchup for him, give him some opportunities. Then for the Falcons, I wouldn't get too cute here with Huntley or Algier. Both these guys are getting somewhat similar types of carries and, 10, 15 carries a game. The yardage isn't all that great. I think the Falcons are going to have to, focus more so on the passing attack. They're not really a team that's going to dominate you on the ground. So I would rather sit both of these guys here. Maybe if there was an injury to one of these guys, then the other could really have a time to shine while Patterson is also out. But that's not the case, so we sit both of them. Moving on, Lions at the Cowboys. So Lions coming off the bye week. Will DeAndre Swift return here? That's the big question. I anticipate he probably does. I would start him. I think he's going to be a high-end running back too. Jamal Williams, if Swift plays, I have a hard time starting him because I think he's going to be touchdown dependent. So I do want to mention that. I wouldn't get too cute with him here. I have him as a start, but that's more so if Swift doesn't play. For the Cowboys, we might see Dak Prescott return this week. And I think that'll be a boost for the entire offense. But regardless, I would start both Zeke and Tony Pollard here. They're both probably going to get double-digit carries, but more importantly, they're both facing one of the worst defenses in the NFL, the Detroit Lions. I think they'll both have their fair share of opportunities. I have Zeke ranked higher as a mid to high-end running back 2, Pollard in that RB2 running back 3 range. Then Giants at the Jaguars. I'll start Saquon Barkley. He's been a top 5 running back all season long. We saw what the Colts just did on the ground versus the Jaguars. You fire up Barkley. For Jacksonville, are we seeing that potential shift? ETN over James Robinson? It sure kind of seems that way. I don't know if it's something to do with the injury that Robinson sustained last year. I don't know if the team wants to get ETN just more involved and save Robinson for later on. But either way, ETN has looked sharper. He's looked more explosive. I still, either one of these running backs, whoever you go with, I have as an RB2 running back 3 because I do think this will be a lower scoring game. And I don't think there's going to be too many points, too much rushing success from the Jaguars, so do keep that in mind. Then Colts at the Titans. I'll start Jonathan Taylor if he plays, obviously. A lot of asterisks next to these running backs for the Colts. Naheem Hines as well. Deion Jackson had a huge performance versus the Jaguars. He got banged up in that game, so you could argue he should have an asterisk next to his name too. In which case, if neither of these guys play, I guess it would be Philip Lindsay, the next guy up. If I had to guess, I think Jonathan Taylor probably returns, which then makes all of this a moot point. I would have him as a top 10 running back on the week. For the Titans, Derrick Henry, you fire him up. He is a top 5 running back in standard scoring formats. Moving on, Texans at the Raiders. You'll start Dameon Pierce. This Raiders defense isn't all that scary. Pierce has been getting great volume as of late. I have him as a mid to high-end running back 2 on the week. For the Raiders, Josh Jacobs, he's also been getting great volume. He's been exceptional these last couple of weeks. Obviously, they were on the bye last week, but before that, a lot of that has been, however, because of touchdown success. So the only thing that I will say here is if Josh Jacobs doesn't find the end zone, don't be shocked if he has a decent decrease in fantasy production. but I would still have him as a high-end running back too. And then Rux Burkhead, he's kind of been phased out for the Texans. He is a sit. Afterwards, Jets at the Broncos. We've gotten to that point where Breece Hall has taken over the backfield for the Jets, and he's playing like a top 10 running back in fantasy. You're going to fire him up. Michael Carter, kind of backup role. You sit him. The Broncos, they have yet to play at the time of this recording, but Melvin Gordon, he's the main guy here. I have him as a mid-level running back too. And then Mike Boone, again, I think more of a backup role. I have him as a sit. Afterwards, Chiefs at the 49ers. Honestly, I'm not too excited about the running backs in this matchup. I even thought about having both of them as sits. For the Chiefs, we saw what Clyde Edwards-Helaire's problem is. He doesn't get volume, and if he doesn't get a lot of, catches and touchdowns, then he puts up dud numbers. So he was uber efficient beforehand, and now that's kind of catching up to him. I don't like the matchup here versus the 49ers defense, so I would sit him here. And then Jeff Wilson, bit of a better matchup, but he needs to get more volume. Reason why he didn't last week is because the 49ers were down and they had to pass the football. That could potentially be a problem here versus the Chiefs, so keep that in mind. Wilson, to me, is a low-end running back too. And then I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is even, if you start him, he's kind of boom or bust, but more so in the running back 3 category. Then Seahawks at the Chargers. You start Ken Walker, and we knew if there was an injury to this backfield, namely Rashad Penny, that Walker would be the next guy up and he'd be fine. And that was the case here. I have him as a top 15 running back. So, mid to high-end running back 2 on the week. For the Chargers, Austin Eckler, I think he should have a good performance versus the Seahawks. He is a borderline top 5 running back in PPR formats. Then Steelers at the Dolphins. You'll start Najee Harris, even though he kind of salvaged his day versus the Buccaneers with a touchdown. Again, I think he is still in that boomer bust category to some extent. I still don't believe in the Steelers offense and the Steelers quarterbacks, and the Dolphins are going to be a better team with Tua supposedly returning this week, so keep all those things in mind. Harris, to me, is in the running back 2 category for the Dolphins. I'll go with Raheem Mostert. These last couple of weeks, he has been the dude. He's been getting the volume. We'll see if that continues with Tua, but I think in standard formats, he is a low-end running back 2, and then Edmonds, a sit. He has kind of become an afterthought. Afterwards, Bears at the Patriots. I'll start David Montgomery. He is still the primary rusher for the Bears. Yes, Khalil Herbert had a big run this last week, but after that, didn't really do all too much. Montgomery is still the preferred option. The Bears, in big moments, they go to him. He's still going to get more usage. I have him as a low-end running back too. I don't love the matchup. Then for New England, Ramondre Stevenson, as long as Damian Harris is out like he was this last week, I think Stevenson is a high-end running back 2, low-end running back 1, and the preferred running back to start in this matchup. But with that, we wrap up our Week 7 fantasy football running back starts and sits for every single matchup. If you guys enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear in the comment section, did you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have. We will do our best to answer them all. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.